Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're talking about 15 lessons about leadership that I learned from a phenomenal book by Dale Carnegie called How to Win Friends and Influence People. And that's what we're reviewing as part of this month's Leadership Book Club series, where we'll be taking a deep dive into leadership and self-development to help you go further, faster in your career. And we're going to do this in 4 parts. First, lessons about how to handle and deal with people. Lessons about how to make people like you, lessons about how to influence and win people to your way of thinking, and lessons about how to be a leader. Now, before we get started, this video is brought to you by Audible. You can get a free audiobook of your choice by signing up for a free 30-day trial of Audible at audibletrial.com/AlvinThePM. So you can get How to Win Friends and Influence People for free. You can get even other amazing leadership books by Dale Carnegie, such as the Ultimate Dale Carnegie Library or the Dale Carnegie Leadership Mastery Course for free, just by signing up for a free trial of Audible at audibletrial.com/AlvinThePM. I am personally a huge fan of Audible, and I've listened to dozens of audiobooks, so I highly recommend it, especially if you're into business development and leadership. This is an incredible way that you can do so for free. The link is down below in the description bar. Part 1. 3 lessons about how to handle and deal with people. So the first lesson that I gathered from this book is that you should never complain, condemn, or criticize those whom you interact with. Of course, all of this stems from the fact that in general, to succeed in life, it is not about your technical skills or just your hard work alone. Life is never that simple, and your success, it depends not only on your knowledge, your skill set, and your hard work, but also with how your actions make those around you feel. Benjamin Franklin, he once said, "I will speak ill of no man and speak all the good I know of everybody." So if all you do is negatively criticize someone for their bad behavior, how do you think that's going to make them feel? "John, you did such a poor job yesterday, and I cannot believe how bad your speech was." Don't put people down and don't make them feel bad. Try to see things from their perspective. Is there a way that you can bring good vibes and positive energy to your conversation? Have you ever heard the saying that it's not what you say, it's actually how you say it? You can still provide constructive criticism, but with a positive tone in mind. Lesson number 2, if you want to manage and lead people effectively, you need to give honest and sincere appreciation. There is only one way to get anyone to do anything, and that is by making the other person want to do it and by giving them exactly what they want. We're all human beings, and we all want good health, food, sleep, money, home, but most importantly, the feeling of importance. We all have that desire to be important. That's why we're always trying to advance in our career, be noticed by our managers, or be recognized for our hard work. In the book, Dale Carnegie tells a story about a man named Charles Schwab, one of the very first people in American business to be paid a salary of over $1 million a year. Can you believe that? And he's quoted saying, "The greatest asset I possess and the way to develop the best that is in a person is by appreciation and encouragement. I am hearty in my approbation and lavish in my praise." By this, I don't mean some kind of flattery which is artificial and fake. This isn't some kind of Jedi mind trick from Star Wars. These are not the droids you're looking for. In real life, you don't say things like, "Oh, you're great. You're amazing. Now go do what I tell you to do." Be genuine and authentic with your compliments, something that is from your heart, where you tell that person exactly what they did and why it was helpful. Let others know how much you appreciate them. This goes for both your personal and your professional life. So for example, if your significant other did a really great job cooking dinner last night, tell her that you really appreciated how much time she spent preparing dinner and that it's one of your favorite meals. Lesson number 3 from the book is arouse in the other person an eager want. Dale Carnegie tells a story about how he loves strawberries and cream, but when he goes fishing, he doesn't think about what he wants. He thinks about what the fish wants, which in this case are earthworms. So he uses worms as the bait for a lure just to catch the fish. So why can't we apply the same analogy to how we connect and interact with others? As Dale Carnegie states it, the only way to influence other people is to talk about what the other person is interested in and to show them exactly how to get it. In other words, figure out what the other person wants and find a way to connect to them. Ask yourself, what do they want? And how can I tie up what I'm looking for to what they're looking for? A classic example of this is, let's say that you're applying to jobs and you're being interviewed by different managers. You don't just tell your interviewers all of your demands and all of your requests. Mr. Manager, I am demanding a salary of $100,000 a year. I want 4 weeks of pay time off, $5,000 worth of stock options, and I want to work remotely from home. This is non-negotiable. Okay, so first off, you don't ever want to do that. Instead, you frame things from the other person's perspective and you connect to what they want. Here's a better way to do that. Mr. Manager, I'm very excited to share with you how my experience with leading new product development projects in the past 10 years can help you and your team launch new products and grow your revenue even faster. You're talking about how you can help them. You're focused on their wants, not on your wants. Part 2, lessons about how to make people like you. Alright, so Dale Carnegie has 6 key principles in the book, and I'm going to focus on the ones which can have the biggest impact on your relationships. So lesson number 4 is to be genuinely interested in other people. Have you ever been to a party or been on a date with someone who only kept talking about themselves? Do you have any idea how annoying that can be? Oh, you like Starbucks too? Oh my god, me too. Yesterday I was at Starbucks for work because I need some energy today. I think it was morning, but things are just really busy. Seriously? Stop talking about yourself. Now, on the other hand, let's say you're having a conversation with someone who genuinely asks you questions and it seems like they're paying attention to your interests. It seems like they actually care. This is what Dale Carnegie calls be interested in the people you're speaking with, not be interesting. You don't have to be the most interesting person in the room. Be the one who's most interested in the people you're talking to. There is such a huge difference there. So if there's anything that you take away from this video, it's this one thing. Be a good listener. Talk about their interests and make that person feel important. Lesson number 5, smile. Dale Carnegie has a really good quote in this book, and he says, actions speak louder than words, and a smile says, I like you. You make me happy, and I am glad to see you. So let me show you. If we were complete strangers and you're meeting me for the first time, which one looks and feels much more welcoming? Here I'm just looking straight, face relaxed, eyebrows scrunched up a little bit without any real emotions. Does this feel inviting? Now, on the other hand, let's take a look at this. If I have a slight smile on my face, doesn't it look so much more approachable and much more welcoming? I'll let you be the judge of this. So next time you see someone in person, don't look frustrated, angry, or annoyed. Greet your friends and your coworkers with a smile. Just smile more often. Lesson number 6. Remember that a person's name is to that person the sweetest and most important sound in any language. People love hearing their names. If I say, hey dude, how's it going? Versus, hey John, how's it going? Just that one minor tweak, that's gonna change your conversation and make it feel so much more personal, more real, more authentic, and so much more engaging. So say the other person's name more often. Trust me, this works. Have you ever heard your name when you're in a big room and large noisy crowd? Your brain fine-tunes your words and you can easily pick up if someone is saying your name. It's incredible. So the best way to build good rapport with someone and to start your conversation off on a good foot, say their name. When you're in a group conversation, don't just say him, her, or you. Say their name. If you don't know what their name is, learn it and use it in the conversation. Don't say things like, oh, she likes the new Top Gun movie. Say instead, Ashley likes the Top Gun movie. Just start experimenting and start saying the names of the people you're speaking to. Of course, don't overdo it. but be genuine and authentic. Lesson 7, be a good listener and encourage others to talk about themselves and their interests. Dale Carnegie states that you can make more friends in 2 months by becoming interested in other people than you can in 2 years by trying to get other people interested in you. So, long story short, make it your own personal mission to genuinely be interested in other people. So if you want to win friends and if you want to develop good relationships, take a genuine interest in other people. Ask them questions. Make it your mission to learn more about them. What's their biggest passion? What do they like to spend their time doing? Do they love to bake desserts, bake cake or cookies? Do they have any family or kids, or maybe they like to travel? And if they do, what's the number one place that they want to visit again? When you ask these kinds of questions, be genuinely interested, and that person will associate your positivity and your enthusiasm with your presence. And that honestly, it's a really great way to start developing relationships with other people, especially if you're looking to network or build thriving, and I mean thriving connections both professionally and personally. Stephen Covey is famous for his quote, "Listen with the intent to understand and the intent to reply." Remember that listening is a really great way to show that you're an excellent conversationalist, even if you don't say anything. All right, now let's turn to part 3, lessons about how to influence and win people to your way of thinking. To get the best of an argument, avoid it and show respect for the other person's opinion. In the book, Dale Carnegie quotes Benjamin Franklin saying, "If you argue and you rankle and you contradict, you may achieve a victory sometimes, but it will be an empty victory because you will never get your opponent's goodwill." As a leader, you want to communicate in a way that leads to a win-win situation. I mean, have you ever been accused of something that you knew 100% was completely false? Or has someone ever made you extremely upset over an argument? I mean, how did it make you feel? Your emotions are probably running wild, your blood pressure's increasing through the roof, you want to yell at the other person, and unfortunately, nothing positive comes out of it. Remember this, an argument always creates resistance. You're just wasting your energy and it can feel so draining. So be a leader who knows how to get an outcome without having to argue or yell at the other person. There might be areas where they may actually be right. Try to see things from their point of view and expand your mind even further. In reality, most communication is just miscommunication. And maybe, just maybe, they couldn't communicate in a way that made sense. Lesson 9, if you're wrong, admit it quickly. Dale Carnegie in the book says, "When we are wrong, and that will be surprisingly often, let's admit our mistakes quickly and with enthusiasm." Wouldn't you agree that it's so much easier just to say, "Mr. Manager, I made a mistake the other day and I know exactly what needs to be done so we can fix it," versus spending all of your time and wasting all of your energy trying to figure out how to defend yourself, and in that cycle, feeling more nervous, more anxious, and just feeling so more overwhelmed. This is an amazing lesson because it can be so hard for us to admit when we made a mistake. This is so much easier to say in a YouTube video, but it's 10 times harder to actually implement in real life. We're all human beings and we all make mistakes. So when you do acknowledge your mistakes, admit them first. Put yourself in the position as a leader. Take full responsibility for what you did, because that is something that is deeply admired. Hone in on your skill set, refine your craft as a leader, because when you admit that you're wrong and that you're ready to move on and find a solution, everyone around you will admire the fact that you took responsibility for your own actions, and they will look up to you. Lesson 10, to win someone to your way of thinking, get them to say yes immediately. This is based off the psychological lesson that people are more likely to agree with you and say yes if they've said yes previously. Have you ever met someone for the first time and you instantaneously became really good friends because you found so many similar characteristics and hobbies as you? Hey, do you like basketball? Yeah, me too. I love the Lakers. Oh, your favorite basketball team is the Lakers? Yeah, no way. Me too. Who's your favorite player? Oh man, Kobe Bryant, he's the best. So going back to the lesson, when you're discussing with someone, don't start by talking about things you disagree. Instead, find a common ground. Highlight the things that you agree with. Get them to say yes at the start. of your conversation, because the more yeses that you get, the more likely that you'll capture their attention. And if you have trouble doing this, just keep asking questions that you know that they would respond yes to. For example, the purpose of this meeting is to agree upon which vendor we'll be using. Is that correct? So anytime you're trying to persuade someone, get them to agree with you first and say yes to at least 2 things before you start sharing your perspective. And doing it in this way, you'll find that it's just a little bit easier to have a more open, transparent, and authentic conversation, because it starts off knowing that you both share the same goal, which means that you'll embrace each other's opinions and feedback much more easily. Lesson 11, let the other person feel that their idea was theirs. This is really great advice, especially if you're in a leadership position. What I think that Dale Carnegie is trying to say in the book here is that you should give people credit where credit is due. This is going to go a really long way in your career with not only building rapport, but also that know, like, and trust factor with the people you work with on a day-to-day basis. And guess what? That's going to lead to even better relationships, both personally and professionally. So plain and simple, if you want to connect with others, let go of your own ego and give credit to where it's due. And the fact of the matter is that it's usually our ego that gets in the way of things. We have our own sense of pride and we want to take credit for everything. So do yourself a favor and let go of your ego. Be someone that lets others take credit for their work. I want you to remember this. This is very important. You know, it's amazing what you can accomplish when you work together as a team and you give them credit for their work. If one of your team members solved one of the most challenging issues on your project and worked overtime on the weekend, give him or her the credit for their hard work and let them know how much it means to you. No man is an island, and we're stronger only when we work together. All right, let's turn to part 4, lessons about how to be a leader. Lesson 12. Begin with praise and honest appreciation. This piece of advice is timeless and it can be revisited over and over again. And it's the one thing that I've noticed that many great leaders do with those they work with. Have you ever had a manager or a team member who complimented your work and sincerely gave you positive words of feedback when you did something right? How did it make you feel? Take a moment to reflect on that, because I bet that when you received their honest and sincere feedback, you felt really good inside, and it probably motivated you even more to do even better work. So here's what you need to do. Make it a daily habit to praise someone for their efforts. The key thing here is to actually be genuine with your appreciation and not to overdo it. Don't just praise everyone you talk to, it has to come inside of you and be very specific. For example, don't just say, "Thank you for completing the work." Trust me, you can do so much better than that. What about this? "Hey John, I really liked how you presented our design to the customer. Thought it was really engaging and I wanted to let you know to keep up the great work." No need to go overboard here, but just honest and sincere appreciation that is meaningful. That's it. Lesson 13. Talk about your mistakes before giving criticism. Dale Carnegie says admitting one's own mistakes, even when one hasn't corrected them, can help convince somebody to change his behavior. By far, this is one of the most important lessons that you can apply to in your own life. And that's by sharing something vulnerable about yourself and opening up to the person you're speaking with. Talk about your current mistakes and how you're trying to improve so you don't come off as someone who's more superior. Be their equal. Dale Carnegie shares a story about a man named Clarence who noticed that his son was starting to smoke cigarettes. And of course, Clarence didn't want his son to go down that same path. Instead of disciplining him and saying, "You need to stop smoking cigarettes because it's not good for you," instead, Clarence shares his own personal story, his vulnerability of how bad smoking got for him, how irritating his cough became, and what a negative impact that it had on his life. And just by opening up and sharing his own mistakes, he was vulnerable, and his son never picked up smoking. So anytime you're about to criticize or discipline someone for their bad behavior, share something about yourself. Be vulnerable. Talk about a time where you messed up, and that person, they're going to be more open and responsive to you and not be on the defensive. This This is a much better approach because it makes them feel that they understand you and that they won't take it the wrong way. Lesson 14, ask questions instead of giving direct orders. This is phenomenal advice. No one likes to take orders, period. The most important thing that you can do as a leader is to avoid acting like a dictator and always giving orders from a position of authority. Do this because I am the boss. No. Don't just forcefully tell someone what to do. If you're in a leadership role, find ways to ask questions to stimulate their creativity and their mind. Ask questions that will make them really think. Instead of saying, I want you to do it this way because X, Y, and Z, replace it with, what do you think we should do here? Do you think this is going to work? What gives you the confidence in this approach? Have you thought about this other idea? What are the pros and cons of each? By asking these kinds of thought-provoking questions, you're giving the other person a feeling of importance, and you're guiding them in the right direction. Give people the opportunity to do things themselves and to learn from their mistakes. Just remember this one thing. The power and the respect that we have from others is earned continuously from the actions that we make every day, not just because of your official job title. Lesson 15. Give others a fine reputation to live up to. Incredible advice here. Have you ever heard the old saying, give a dog a bad name and you may as well hang him, but give him a good name and see what happens? Dale Carnegie says, if you want to improve a person in a certain respect, act as though that particular trait were already one of his or her outstanding characteristics. And the truth is, we stick by our inherent beliefs. If someone says, you're terrible at this and you're never going to succeed, you're going to destroy almost every single ambition in that person to grow and improve. If you want to be a leader, if you want to motivate others, instead, encourage and tell them that you trust and that you believe in them. Don't just say, don't do this ever again. Otherwise, you're going to have all of these negative consequences. Give people a reputation to live up to. Hey John, I noticed that you were behind schedule with our design efforts and you didn't communicate our performance to our team. Everyone looks up to you and admires your work and all of your hard efforts. And this isn't leadership potential. You're a leader and I expect better from you. If you say that you trust their ability to change, they're going to keep trying until they succeed. It's a good way to give someone a reputation. Instead of saying that someone's goal is out of their reach, encourage small wins, small victories, and inspire them. Whomever you're working with, give that person a reputation to live up to. So the biggest takeaway that I got from Dale Carnegie's book is to make the effort to understand and connect with those around you. Be interested in them and build upon your relationships. Remember, it's not what you know, it's who you know that will shape your success and your career. So take it seriously. There are so many more lessons inside the book, and if you want to listen to how to win friends and influence people for free or other amazing leadership audiobooks by Dale Carnegie, go to audibletrial.com/AlvinThePM. The link is down below in the description. Now, if you want to learn how I leveled up my career by implementing these core principles, watch this video next to learn exactly how I did that.